Happy minds, happy thoughts, happy soul, and the happy you. It's derived from what you need and how you need. Now, you as a customer and you catering to a customer, a coin which has two sides. Do you always consider both the sides or you always see the way it comes to you? Think about it. What is it? Which side of the coin are you? A customer or serving a customer? Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for the Economic Times virtual roundtable themed Amplifying Your Company's Brand with Customer Service. Customer service. Customer service. And that's why precisely I asked you, what are you? A customer or catering to a customer? Session has been powered by ServiceNow. My name is Ganapathi and delighted to be a part of the ET Edge, and I welcome you once again for this very interesting session which you deal with in your day-to-day life every single day. Absolutely every single day. In whatever you do, you're catering to one or the other person, and vice versa. Somebody is catering to you. Now, I'm going to talk about an organization and the success of an organization. Well, a company is successful when it has loyal customers that keep coming back despite the competing brands trying to lure them. Now, if you have an app of Swiggy and Zomato and you go into that, you see so many offers coming to you. And trust me, sometimes smack deals you can't really say no to. But sometimes you want to go back to the same place because you like that entire comfort side of it. Well, what keeps these customers coming back to these businesses, and how do these brands earn customer loyalty? Again, you become one and you cater to one. The customer expectations are at all-time high. Now, this line, I have heard this for the last 20 years of my life, but yes, it will keep coming back, that customers' expectations are at all-time high, because it's like a narrow window that keeps expanding and expanding and expanding, and vice versa. The mind and the human nature keeps expanding. So they're all turning to those that can meet all their needs and listen to the concerns, address them, and give the best possible outcome. Now, if you are unable to accomplish, you're already eliminated from the competition, and you know that better. If you don't cater, you are out. When service and experience are what create a brand, the inherent risk to firms today is not fulfilling rising customer experiences and expectations. While organizations in the same industry compete, the focus of these enterprises should be on providing the greatest client experience. In inverted comma, greatest client experience. Now, you know it differs from organization to organization, people to people. But yes, greatest client experience. Now, although businesses all around the world have already hopped on board, you can't afford, and trust me, you can't afford to fall behind by failing to fulfill clients' expectations. This entails minimizing the prolixity in your end-to-end client experience. Using the current technologies like the AI, the machine learning, being more personalized and being more adaptable. With all of this in place, you can outperform your competition, build client loyalty, and increase profitability. That is, if you want to be in the competition or race in your own. Well, in this session, we will touch upon some very interesting points, starting with the point that ways to provide the innovative technology and services to our customers, our loyal customers, our customers who we treat as God, meeting customer expectations for a frictionless experience, ways to reward customers for their loyalty. Now, that is a very interesting subject. One can talk and talk about it. How to improve operational productivity, empowering the customer service team, and the last one is going to be technology adaptation versus personalization. Ah, isn't that sparking? Well, it is indeed, and that's exactly why we have a set of panelists who will throw in all their thoughts, perception, and highlight in terms of what they think should be the way forward. Joining me in a session today, please welcome our panelists. The first one joining is Ganapathi TB, Executive Vice President and COO of Happiest Minds. Along with that is Kanchal Karkal, Customer Experience Manager for Manipal Health Enterprises. Joining the two is Smitha Kumar, Vice President Customer Experience, Equitas Small Finance Bank. Joining the three is Sriram Srinivasan, Head of Digital Banking, Ujjivan Small Finance Bank. Joining the four is Shishir Saxena, APAC Head Client Strategy and Transformation for Altimetrik, and joining the rest of them is Rubal Sahni, Regional Director, ServiceNow. And session is been moderated by somebody who always likes to bring in much more from what you truly expect. And that's why we're very happy to welcome our moderator, Dr. Anand Ramanathan, partner at Deloitte India. And Anand, over to you.
Thank you so much, Mithun. So look forward to speaking to all of you today and moderating this discussion where we will look at customer service, which is a great opportunity to differentiate and amplify the brand. And as part of this discussion, we are fortunate to have a panel that has representation from B2B, from B2C, and it's a lot of different services, right? We have healthcare, we have financial services, ITES, so a bunch of different services in terms of both B2C and B2B sectors. So with that, I will go into the discussion. The discussion will primarily be structured in four broad areas. So we will start off by understanding how the market landscape is changing in terms of customer preferences, how are they changing, and the impact on business models. And then we'll move to the technology section. There is a lot of focus now on different parts of technology. So Mithun did mention AI and machine learning, data science itself, how is it making a difference in terms of customer support? From there, we move to the people side of things. How do you empower your team to give the best experience? Because ultimately, the moment of truth is when people are providing the service. And therefore, how do you keep your organization and employees motivated? And finally, we will end with differentiating, using services, using customer support and customer service as a key lever for differentiating the brand. So with that, I will start off the discussion. So perhaps we can start with healthcare, a very topical sector in the current circumstances. So Kanchan, how is it that customers are changing, and how is it that you are looking at incorporating changes in the business model based on how consumption is changing?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anand. In healthcare, with the pandemic situation, it has been a challenging time for us. And in fact, the pandemic situation, I feel, has given us a lot of expectations, change in expectations from customers in terms of the services that we provide to them, a mix of physical as well as a digital kind of an approach is what we have been we have moved towards. If you say a pre-pandemic kind of a situation, it was more of a physical environment is what we were looking at, and as and when the pandemic kind of hit in, we had to think very differently, right? Change our strategy on how do we reach out to customers, especially if you see in our healthcare Manipal, 35 to 40% of our patients are seniors. And in the first wave, seniors were not moving out. And how do we reach out to them? How do we continue the care that we were giving to them? Or how do we cater to patients who are with us already in the system? So we had to completely change our way of thinking, move towards video consultations. The demand for video consultation drastically went up, right? And the technology, including the internal stakeholders and everyone moving to adopt technology. That was a major challenge, that we faced. But I think, the entire team of the tech, IT, marketing team, the customer experience, operation, and the entire management worked together, and we put in a lot of efforts to manage this situation. And I would always appreciate, especially the frontline team who really supported us during this time, facing the situation. Every meeting I first, do not fail to still appreciate them. So, and if you talk about customer expectations, I think customer experience or experience, I would say, is a destination that we would never reach, right? All the more because of the digital revolution today, their expectations are changing. Every day it is changing. And it is important for leaders like us to cope up with that change, build agile teams, and change our approaches, move towards an outside-in approach, and look at what customers want. All that I think we need to focus on is, what does our customer want? What do they need? How do we give it to them? When, where, and how do they want it? And how do you make it easy for them and make the entire journey consistent and a memorable experience? So I think, regardless of whether it is a customer experience or a digital team or, an operation team, I think this, this is the approach that we need to really, move towards, to cater to what our customers. And trust me, it's not going to be easy, because you implement something today and then tomorrow the requirement is very different. And then, we need to really build agile teams who can actually work towards this changing environment. Yeah.
So thanks a lot for that, Kanchal. I think remote customer service is a very critical aspect which you touched upon, along with putting the customer in the center of things and responding to them, enhancing their convenience, right? So with that, we'll move to another sector, which is FS. So Sriram, banking, how is it that it's changed, and how are customer preferences changing, and how is that impacting your business model?
Very good question, Anand. And as we all know, and we're all customers of a bank all the time, customer expectations are definitely extremely high now. Clients, as the famous saying goes, they don't want banking. Banking is considered to be an infrastructure. So the best bank is the bank that stays out of your way, but keeps delivering the services. The last thing you want is something to break down. You want your payments to go seamlessly. You want your loans to be fulfilled instantly. You want your mortgages to be available immediately. And you would really, want to make sure that your banking is seamless and frictionless. So the role of customer service in banking essentially is to make sure that this seamless, frictionless customer experience is made real, while ensuring the full level of control and compliance, and ensuring that there is zero fraud as well. So these are two conflicting aims, effectively. And so that essentially is the big challenge in banking. And we can see that there's been a massive change in even the last 2-3 years due to COVID, and also because of the India stack and all the things that are now available in terms of reaching out to clients remotely. But the customer service aspect has become even more acute now, because more and more people are relying on digital banking.
Thanks for that, Sriram. We'll stay with FS itself. So,
Sure.
Smitha, over to you. How are customers? How are their preferences changing, and how is it impacting your business model?
Yeah, so I'd like to take on what happened to our bank pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, we were basically pretty much a physical bank where customers had to fill in application forms, and then we had to open accounts. And though there were plans in terms of making our our sourcing digital, we were still there. And then came the pandemic, where we realized that we can't step out. So that's when, the magic happened. So we in no time got out our digital product. We started sourcing online, and the kind of sourcing that we did, I don't think we would have done in the last 3 years. And I think our numbers, our customer acquisition just doubled and tripled. So today, as we speak, whatever numbers we did in the last 2 years, we didn't do in the last 3 years before the pandemic. So that's the magic it did. But there also came a question as to, it's not about sourcing alone, right? You have to service these customers as well. So how do we get servicing off the branch? So there are no customers that are going to be coming to our branches for service. So what do? We took out, so we did an in-depth study of why would the customer come to the branch? What are the services that the branches do? We got all of that put into our app. So today you can bank pretty much at your home, whatever you want, address change, mobile number change, email ID change. These are very, very touchy. As far as a bank is concerned, and the bank would never allow a digital platform to do it. And if at all they allow to do it, then they ensure that pretty much there are a lot of controls in place for it. So what we did was we did a bifurcation of what can be done totally by the customer, and what should be done through a video call. Okay, like Kanchal mentioned, there was this shift that we could see. And today, pretty much sitting at at home, you can do anything at all which is relating to 2-3 years back. Whatever were the services that you had to go to the branch for can pretty much be done at home by a customer. And in terms of the customer preferences, we did a study as well. So if you know our portfolio, we handle liabilities as well as asset customers, and pretty much our asset customers are microfinance customers, a huge base in fact. So we were wanting to understand how is it that what is it that we want to do with our microfinance customers, because they are a category where they need to be educated quite a lot. Okay, so in-person approach is maximum there. So when we did a survey, it was a very interesting finding that we had, that 89% of the segment had WhatsApp. Okay, as in they had smartphones. Okay, now how they could use that smartphone, all that is different. But I'm saying in terms of the changing customer preferences, changing customer, what could you say, the usage of technology, all that is showing a drastic drift. So the future is digital very clearly, and nobody really has the time and energy that they want to spend going to a place and getting things done. They like it all at their fingertips, be it ordering food, to be it banking, whatever it may be, it all has to be on the palm. So that's what we are increasingly seeing, and we are focusing our energies big time in that direction.
Thanks a lot for that, Smitha. Ganapathi, would you want to go next? How are your customer preferences changing? How is it impacting your business model? Could you unmute yourself, please, Ganapathi?
So sorry about that. Can you hear me now? Okay. See, the last 2 years, if you see every business, right, have shown proportional growth, increase in revenue, increase in customer acquisition, whatnot, especially in the technology sector, right? Which we really thought, okay, hey, how do we move ahead in this situation, right? When the pandemic hit, what do we do? How do we do? Right? Market will not be giving you any concession that, okay, hey, it's pandemic, let us take this year easy, let us look next year as what it is. Never, right? And we had a successful IPO in midst of pandemic, right? And the entire documentation, right, from DHRP to all the legalities, formalities, everything which was to be pushed right from desk to desk, everything we did digital remote. That is one of the best experience what we had. That gave us a pulse, okay, hey, there's a sense of acceptability and things can be changed. And why not we change the way we approach our customer, the way we service our customer, right? Earlier, as you know, security services is one of the integral services what we offer to customers. It used to be a separate tagline, separate services which we used to offer. Hey, this is also available. But today that is not, because customer expects that to be integral part of any service what you offer. right? And we thought, okay, hey, we have to bundle it, we have to package it. It has to be seen as a holistic approach, right? Customers' demand, I would say, have not changed drastically, but I see a sense of acceptance of the customer. Like this, also services can be consumed, right? A customer who was very, very reluctant that my code cannot go beyond these four walls, whatever said and done reasons. We are all used to this ODC concept, right? We are all used to a four wall enclosed structure where people will just go swipe, come out, and nobody can go in. Come pandemic, okay, next day everybody's working remotely from Assam, Mizoram, and all those things. See, the perception have changed, right? The perception has taught many things for all of us, which was the basic need for innovation, which has come from several ways. So the way the customer has started looking into things are, they are not asking for a person with a JD with, I want a person with A skill, B skill. Now customer is putting a problem statement. You tell me how you can solve it, whether you can solve it by a fresher, you want an experienced person, or SME, doesn't matter. I want my problem to be solved, and this has to be solved by this time. So the way we are seeing things has totally changed. The kind of people we hire, the kind of people we train, the kind of people we deploy, the kind of people we put for the customer in the last 2 years has totally changed. And I think we are all agree that at least 50% of workforce, what has come in the last 2 years, we didn't have a chance to shake hands personally, even today, right? 50% have come and they are sitting somewhere which we don't know. But in earlier days, we were very cognizant, hey, can this person do the job? Can this person deliver this? What is required? What if not? If and buts used to really, really be on our mind. So today, we don't know, but somewhere the job is delivered. So we're all putting the best practices, we are putting the processes behind, we are not keeping the erstwhile legacy stuff in front. As Happiest Minds being a 10-year-old company, we call born digital, born agile. We don't carry the legacy stuff for that matter. But if you really see the digital side of the business, customer says, okay, this is my problem statement. You want to create a SOW, you want to create a JD, by this, please create, but help me to solve the problem, right? So things are changing. The way the problem is being looked into is changing. The way customer reciprocates to the current challenges is changing. So we see a big shift in what's happening. And adding to that, we all know the kind of talent, skill challenge, what we are seeing in Indian market for whatever reason, the kind of retention challenge, what we are seeing. I think we have to really focus in a way in which we see the outcome. Okay, we cannot be really fighting on a problem. We have to define an outcome and figure out innovative ways to overcome that challenge. So which we are all working today, Anand.
Thanks a lot for that, Ganapathi. In fact, it is a advantage, right? When you are fully digital, when you've started 10 years back vis-a-vis legacy firms, which will try to change things as they go. So to that extent, very useful insight on how you built your entire business model around being digital first. So Shishir, what about you? How are your customers changing? And what are some of the business model implications?
Absolutely. See, I think the number one thing that happened is that everybody went into a state of limbo, right? When this whole last 2 years happened, it was pause all budgets. Let's not spend more. Let's just see where the chips fall. And there was a lot of contemplation that happened. But, and then two divergent thoughts happened with our customers. So we are in the space of pure play product engineering. So we actually got some good tailwind because of it, that finally what we had been pushing, which is a product mindset towards solving problem, became the only way to solve a problem, right? Because you had to look at your what you stand for your customer as a product. And it doesn't matter if the customer can physically engage with you or not, the product must function, must deliver to its promise, and hence the whole thing kind of accelerated. So once this whole limbo ended, then there were two thoughts that came out. One was, you know what, let's continue to wait and we will invest based on how the market shifts. But there were a lot of customers who looked at this as an opportunity to kind of create a completely new digital business model itself, right? Why wait for the chips to fall? Why don't you decide what the roadmap of the customer engagement would be? So case in point would be, we had very large customer in the food and beverage industry, and they saw their numbers coming down because the hotels were closing. That was their biggest B2B partner, and they had to rethink their model. And then they realized that the only touch point that they had remaining with the customer is service. So they worked with us on inverting the funnel, right? How do you make a service touch point a sales touch point, right? And the common theme that we used that was take each touch point as a touch point. Don't classify that to be a VP sales problem or a VP customer service problem. It's in the end a customer problem, right? Whether it's a billing issue or terms of payment issue or a renegotiation of product lift for a particular quarter by quarter, whatever it may be. Let's first treat that as a customer problem. Which way you look at the customer doesn't matter. You still have the access to the customer's data, which is the context in which you operate. So a lot of our customers were very quick in working with us in trying to invert the funnel, using your existing service touch points as potential upsell, cross-sell opportunities, and using the best in terms of data analytics and build that context-driven promotions, campaigns, etc. Make that happen for us. So that was one side of it, right? The other was discovering a new customer, which was your own employee, right? All of us suddenly realized that for us to be even relevant, our own employees needed to be effective, productive, motivated. Even if somebody moves from Bangalore to Saharanpur in UP, that individual still should be as productive as that individual was in a tech park in Bangalore. So everything had to be designed around that customer, which is very, very important to all of us, because we may not call it, but all of us are digital companies today, everybody on the screen here, right? And that was the other side of the customer equation that we very quickly helped our customers achieve, as well as did that. So these are two broad areas, Anand, that we saw happening, and I can obviously go and elaborate later.
Thanks, Shishir. So those are very good insights in terms of tangibilizing customer service using products as the strategy, and also the aspect around employees, right? And using them in a different context and ensuring that their productivity stays high. So with that, we'll move to Rubal. So Rubal, you have all your clients here. How is it that you have seen your customers change, right? And what do you think have been some of the implications for ServiceNow in terms of its business model?
Thank you, Anand. And I would like to start with a big congratulations to all the panelists on the screen, because of the business growth which they have delivered in last couple of years, whether it is in IT/ITES segment, whether it is in FS segment, or for that matter, in healthcare as well. We have all seen, how Manipal hospitals is growing. We have all seen the success stories of, whether it is Ujjivan Bank, Equitas Bank, and Altimetrik, and last but not the least, for Mr. Ganapathi, how Happiest minds have also grown and really given a lot of returns to all the shareholders, right? So it's changing 100%. And from ServiceNow side, we have been seeing that tectonic shift in our customers, where they said, look, the CRMs of the legacy CRMs are not able to deliver the customer service requirement which is there. And Shishir touched upon on that point. It should not be a sales problem or a service problem or a finance problem or an HR problem. It is a customer problem end of the day. Why can't we keep customer in the center and then talk about servicing the customer? And that is where the organizations have struggled during the start of pandemic, that they were trying to solve that problem with only maybe a solution which is CRM, or maybe a contact center problem. And there are 2 points which were getting missed here, which is solving a customer problem, giving an experience to the customer is the entire organizational sport. It is not just one department's problem. So how can we get the entire organization onto one plane and deliver customer experience is one problem to solve, right? Point number one. Point number two is, right, while delivering that customer service, how can we bring relevance to it, right? It cannot be just done on some analytics which we have done and we have created a pattern, because every customer is important. Moments that matter is important, right? So there has to be a personalization. There has to be a relevance for a consumer or a customer. In B2C space, it's consumer. In B2B, it is customer. So then, when we are bringing every department and every function onto one plane or one platform, it has to empower AI, ML, and those kind of things to ensure that there is personalization which is getting created. And last but not the least, which is very important, which Smitha also touched upon, is in a secure fashion, so that we are adhering to all the regulatory compliances, right? So that is what we have, kind of transformed some of our customer experiences in all these segments, whether it is IT, ITES, whether it is healthcare, or whether it is FS for that matter. And so I can talk more and I can go on and on, but yeah, passing the cue back to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Rubal, for that. I think very important points made there in terms of putting the customer first. And always looking at treating it as a customer problem, right? And using a service as an opportunity for sales. I thought that's a beautiful insight with what Shishir spoke on and you elaborated. Now, with that, we will move to the next section, which is on, you spoke a lot about AI and ML, so we will focus on technology now. So, Ganapathi, how is it that you've used technology to improve customer service, right? We spoke about aspects of personalization, etc. But how is it broadly that you've used technology to enhance customer service and support? Ganapathi, you need to unmute, please.
Sure. Okay. Here I am. So someone made a statement. I think it is Kanchal. The technology, what is valid today, is valid or might not be really valid tomorrow, right? So one is you need to be on the edge, right? Adopting the right technology is very important, right? Embracing every technology is important, but it might not really benefit you or the customer for that matter. Customer should not see that, okay, you are forcing him to adopt certain things which doesn't bring a value to him, right? So it's very important to understand what is the problem statement, what customer has, and what is the unique solution, what really matters to the customer at this point in time, right? So we say in services side, so if a delivery or a project team starts selling some services to customer will accept it more than a real sales guy going and telling anything. Customer will suspect everything they say, okay, boss, you are come to sell something different to me, right? So we always try to make sure the first level of touch point with the customer, which is the delivery function or the practice side. I'm speaking from the IT side. So they are the ones who has to be absolutely enabled with the latest and the greatest technology, what really matters for them to deliver the kind of services, what is more applicable to the customer. That's point number one. Point number two, embracing technology is one part, but how ready you are, right? How do you make sure the ecosystem below you understands exactly what is required? And that ecosystem speaks the same language what customers looking forward to, right? End of the day, we should provide a choice to the customer to pick what is really important for him rather than pushing many things what we think is important. We can share the best practice experience what we are doing for our 200 different customers, right? But we can put a case study and say, hey, we have done this to these customers and these are the value what we have delivered. So would it be, we feel it is more applicable to you. So here are the options what we are giving it to you. So please come back and tell, okay, what you opt for. Sometimes customers say, you know it better, you please suggest what we do. Or always there is a whiz kid on the other side to say, okay, yeah, I understand, okay, our pulse meets, so let us go ahead and do whatever is required. So adaptation technology is important, collaborating with the client is very important, and making an ecosystem below you to speak the same language is important. Nothing can be disparate. If somebody starts speaking something very different, then end of the day, customer will give you that glorious moment for him to understand and make a choice. He has ample choice to go behind it. See, today what we're facing is, first question a customer asks, why you? Why not, say, if I say, why not TCS or Infosys, for whatever reason it is, right? You have that 15 minutes, the customer's face time to really tell him why this, or else you lose the customer's confidence and you will not get the chance to go forward. So embrace technology is important, choosing right technology is very important, and building the ecosystem beneath you is equally important, right? These are the various ways in which we proactively, consciously work towards to make sure the customer is always seeing us as their brand ambassador, like who are the trusted advisors for their futuristic options and goals.
Thanks for that, Ganapathi. In fact, it's not just about the technology, but also how it gets adopted. So, Kanchal, now, from a healthcare standpoint, what do you think have been some of the ways by which you've used technology, and have you looked at using technology to enhance loyalty of your customers, for example?
First, touching upon how technology has helped us in healthcare, I would probably put it into three buckets. One is the internal customers, stakeholders in terms of our hospital operations, and then the customer side of it. I think I would like to touch upon these 2 points. So how technology has empowered is the first, more core operations in a healthcare system. It's a very complex system, right? From an outpatient area to an inpatient area, pharmacy, there are multiple departments, and to orchestrate this entire function, we need a very strong, our hospital information system, right? And I think our strength is our hospital information system in Manipal. It kind of connects all the departments together and all functions, and every vertical works in the same information system. So by doing that, our operations, we are very smooth, and we're making it easier for all our stakeholders to work on one hospital information system. So that is one of our strength, I would say. And this HIS is also very open to integrate to any other new tools and systems that we want to bring in to improve or develop any department or any service that we are providing. So secondly, again, I would look at the when I talk about customer side, I would look at the administrative part of it, right? It all starts when a customer comes in, right from their registration process to doctor appointments to coming into the hospital, the queue management system to the radiology services, and then move to an IP. So all these, I would say, is everything is available in different channels. Now, for example, a patient wants to register himself or book a doctor appointment. He or she can do it on our website. They can, register themselves or book a doctor appointment, say a video consultation as well in a patient app. They can just call our customer care, book this, call the hospital, book, or directly walk in and then take an appointment. So we have made it available in different channels. So of course, technology has helped us this. If you say any lab investigation that we do in terms of a lab report, that we kind of send it through SMS with a link where they can reach. We send it through WhatsApp, an emailer that is sent to them. And if any patient wants their historical lab reports or investigation reports, they can go to the website and probably download a report. It's again available on their, I think Smitha said everything at the palm patients need it. So it's available in our patient app. And they can just walk in if someone believes in, if we have a lot of senior and they want a hard copy, and they want to just walk into the hospital. We have self help kiosks where they can just enter their patient ID and they can print out their lab reports, or they can just walk into the lab department and ask for a printout. So we are available in all these channels, right? So these are some of the administrative areas that I have covered upon, and making it easier for them in any channel that they prefer or in a way that they prefer, right? And moving to the clinical side of it, for the doctors and the nursing team, we have definitely worked on a lot of technology interventions. On earlier was video, right? Making it easy for patients to reach doctors and doctors to reach out to patients. And home care service is something that we have been focusing a lot on, especially after the pandemic time. Ensuring that patients can easily we deliver medications, pharmacy supplies to patients. And another thing is recently we have also launched remote monitoring of patients. I'm sure you would have read about it. It's a kind of wearable technology to ensure continuity of care even after patient leaves the hospital, right? The challenge for clinicians is, although patients have taken their treatment and they leave the hospital, once they are out of the hospital, how do you optimize that care? How do you ensure continuity of care? So this remote patient monitoring system is going to help us monitor patients in terms of certain vitals in like heart rate or their saturation levels, their sleep patterns, and also medication reminders, the diet reminder, exercise reminders, and it kind of reminds patients and ensures that they stick to their regime, right? Treatment regime, which continues even after they have left the hospital. And likewise, it also helps doctors, right? And patient has a wearable technology, and then they download an app, which is again integrated to our dashboards. And doctor is able to make, probably tailor his plan, because he's able to, the clinical team is able to monitor how the patient is doing. And this helps us optimize our treatment or the clinical outcomes, right? So definitely technology has helped us a lot in all these areas, right? As healthcare, if we look at how it was a decade back and how we operate today, it's definitely different, and it has helped us improve customer experience. As we focus, as much as we focus on technology, we truly believe that in healthcare system, it's more about managing patient emotions, and it's not just focus on patient emotions, it's on the emotion of the family members, because they are the ones who are actually going through a lot more than the patients there, right? So we ensure we give that care to patients while they are in hospitals, and we also have certain engagement activities where we give that continuity of care. Yeah. Well, I think that's it from me.
Thanks, Kanchan. That was a really comprehensive end-to-end perspective and very useful insights coming out of that. And very similar to what Ganapathi said, it's not just the customer, but also the entire ecosystem. How do you bring it all together using technology? So now we'll move to banking. So Smitha, in terms of technology, how is it that you've used it to enhance customer experience?
I think I spilt out the beans pretty fast and in my first discussion, but nevertheless, yeah, I did mention that during the pandemic, it was the technology which was the saving tool for us and for our customers, because we didn't want the customers to also risk it. So we've been using technology exhaustively, and we've been using technology from the perspective of how can we enhance every bit of that experience. Okay, one is providing the tool and the platform, and the other is how can we enhance the experience, how can we kind of build in empathy into it. So we've been working on a couple of customer journeys, and we've been looking at redesigning a couple of our customer journeys as well as we speak today. And it's an ongoing process, as Shishir was saying and Kanchan was saying as well. It's when you think you've really done it, and you realize that there is some change or the other that needs to be still made. So yeah, and any banking platform, if you see, is the backbone of any bank. So without a robust technology, the basic services cannot be rendered in a bank. So that's how technology is to a bank. And for the customer, what he sees as a bank is just the technology part of it, especially after the pandemic. So that's what we're looking at, enabling our employees as well. So how can we get, so in any expanding bank, that's another challenge that we face. We have employees churn, we have new employees joining in. Now, how do we train employees? How do we ensure they are, giving out right information to the customer? So we've deployed a lot of bots. We've deployed assistance for our employees through bots. So right, in terms of what we're doing for customers vis-a-vis employees, everywhere there is a touch of technology, and without that, I think I think I can't imagine a bank without it.
Sure, Smitha. In fact, you've touched upon a very interesting aspect, which is to look at employees. So it's not just customers. So Sriram, staying with banking itself, how have you utilized technologies? Smitha spoke about customer acquisition in her initial section. What about customer retention too? I mean, how has technology really helped you provide that customer support?
Very good point. And I think Smitha has already touched upon most of the major points, and whatever she said applies equally to Ujjivan as well. So technology really has been the lifeline during the pandemic, and we've seen dramatic shifts in the way in which clients interact with the bank over the pandemic, and we've all had to adapt to it. So adding on to that, there's one or two points I'd like to mention. So firstly is technology should be something that obviously the bank completely runs on technology. As someone said, banks are essentially IT companies that don't know that they're really IT companies. So that has a grain of truth to it. And so technology is what everything revolves around, and digital banking by extension is essentially how do you take the bank's technology to the bank's clients and make sure that the process is seamless and frictionless. But having said that, too often we tend to move in fits and starts, and sometimes there's a lot of, oh, this is the latest and greatest thing, and we absolutely need to be on it. I mean, I've seen 2 or 3 of my colleagues already have announced branches on the metaverse, which I think might be a fantastic thing. But is that something that is very relevant to my own customer at the moment? So how do I, so rather than looking at technology as a tool to make the client's life easy, to improve the customer's um, overall service, and also to reduce friction, sometimes we tend to run after something that's perceived as cool. So that I think is something that I would like to caution. And every time this is what is one of the constant dilemmas. When is the right time to adopt something? Is this the right time to jump into the metaverse, or should we wait and see? Or is there a first mover advantage in some of these? And it's very hard to tell, because in hindsight, perhaps we should all stop this call and start opening metaverse branches. Or on the other hand, who knows? So I think the lens through which we try to look at it is this relevant for my customer? Is this going to make my customer's life better, rather than is this the coolest thing to do? That's number one. The second point where really I feel, very strongly, and this is kind of tangential to technology, is when things don't go well for the client, especially when they get stuck. What do we do? And when there is a complaint, for example, or when clients get completely stuck and they get into, you need to upload XYZ, but they have no idea how to do it and so on. And then they're trying to reach a human, and they get into a bot, and then that kind of becomes the subject of a Facebook or LinkedIn post, right? Rather than doing that, this is where really a bank can make a difference. And since the theme of this is around customer service, I think this is one of the moments of truth where a human being who comes in and empathetically explains to the customer that, look, this is how you do something, and this is how you can solve your problem, and this is how this particular piece of technology or this capability that we have within our app will help you, really transforms something would have been a negative customer experience, where that customer is probably going to become a detractor and go tell all their friends about how XYZ is really a bad experience. Swing that around 180 degrees and make it into a moment of truth, where now suddenly this customer has gone and become a promoter. And we've all had these moments of truth where we have swung this way or that way. So I really feel that this intersection of technology and the human being is really where we need to pay attention, and that is essentially what I'm also personally driving in here.
Thanks, Sriram. Service recovery and complaints resolution as an opportunity. I think wonderful insight. And empathy is a common thing that all three of you all have spoken about. So, Shishir,
Right.
any parting comments on this question in terms of technology, data science? How is it that you've used it to enhance customer service for your business?
Sure. If I may, I'll just use something that Mr. Junjunwala used in an interview recently. He said, just because there are 1,000 parties in Bombay, you don't have to go to all of them, right? And that's what, even though I represent a technology firm and we are partners to company to help redefine and build new technologies, we never tell them to take a solution and then find a problem for it, right? The goal should not be to implement AI. AI should be something that is the natural choice based on what you're trying to solve for. Very often I'm in conversations where it becomes like a ego battle sometimes with the person on the other side. Hey, have you used random forest or hidden Markov? And they throw on these algorithms. But it's never about that, right? It's about what is, to Kanchan's point, what is the journey that you're trying to impact? What is the value slice that you're trying to deliver? How is the current system in place doing this, or there is a gap between it? And do you really need to overhaul the entire system to do it, or maybe a delta adjustment can make it happen? So net, we have to be very selective, put the outcome first, what you're trying to impact first, versus trying to see, to Mr. Sriram's point, find a way to open a branch in metaverse. The other thing is, one thing for sure has happened is, and we tell our customers, right? So even if you don't see the need to make a change today, but I think one thing is well established in the last 2 years is that the ability to bring in a new change and make it mainstream is going to be critical, right? So if you are not wired to incorporate change, if you're not designed both culturally and systemically, the backbone that you have tech to imbibe change and make it mainstream, you will always be a laggard, right? So it's okay. You may not want to build the coolest Ferrari out there, but you should at least have a garage which can, leverage a Ferrari if the need be, right? So that realization that we always tell our customers to have, be agile, be open to new ideas, build that culture of trying out new things, reward a little bit of failure even if people are taking chance. That's more important than trying to get that really shiny thing off the shelf just because somebody's trying to push it as the next big thing, right? That's what I would say.
Thanks, Shishir, for that. In fact, you spoke of change. The next section we are going to be talking about, it's not just the hard, tangible stuff, right? All of you spoke about empathy, and these are people providing service to customers. And therefore, this section, we'll focus on people and how you're empowering your teams to provide better customer service. So we'll start with you, Shishir. Given that you spoke about change, how is it that you're empowering your teams?
Absolutely, right. So I think our biggest focus has always been to invest upfront in building the context of the customer, right? Have the situational fluency. Who are you solving for? What are you solving for? What does value look like for your customer? And what is the variable and the starting point that you're coming from, right? Investing upfront in that current state and the context of our customer is paramount. And we always encourage our teams to immerse themselves into that before you even start acting like the practitioners who know everything under the sun, right? And then the second thing is identify what would be the roadblocks for value delivery or value realization. Like, for example, we were working on a document system for a bunch of lawyers, right? Lawyers don't love systems, period, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but they feel that's not their expertise. They are there for bigger and better things in life. It is something that should be of service to them. They should not be learning about the system. So we figured out the most influential lawyer in that group of lawyers and told them how much time does it take for them to, in the course of a discovery or a legal battle, to go back and reference documents which are not easily available simply because you never index them or digitize them, right? Or if you're required to keep a ruling for 7 years and you don't have it, then you are under compliance issues. So when you turn the equation of adoption to value that you will get by making that effort upfront, then your potential detractors become your champions. Do that upfront, involve them in the process. Don't wait to deliver the Ferrari at the end. Look at bite-sized outcomes. Very quickly do MVPs, demo it with the customer, show them a view of what the future looks like, get them excited about it, and so that they start demanding the next release from you, right? Versus saying, hang on, it'll come next quarter, hang on, it'll come next quarter. And then what it comes is way less than what they had build their expectation to be. So very, very simply, bite-sized outcomes, set the right expectation, do MVP-based demos, and then build it together with them as they being part of the process, not a judge who's sitting at the other end. That's how we've done it so far.
Great guiding principle, Shishir. So Sriram, from a banking standpoint, how have you empowered the moments of truth being delivered by people?
Right. I think this is a very, very important point because we tend to talk about technology and we assume that it's going to happen all by itself. But the important thing is the people who make it happen and a lot of the people who don't let it happen. Both need to be addressed. I don't know if you guys have this experience, but in many of my banks, a lot of times, and as I started, banking, especially digital banking, is all about making life very, very easy for the customer while at the same time making it very, very difficult for people who are not our customers who are trying to. So it's a conflict between security, compliance, risk, operational efficiency, and so on, and versus customer experience. And the trade-off is not easy. So there is always these contentious moments where some people want to make it happen, other people would be very happy if it doesn't happen. And how do you judge this? How do you bring it forward? How do you kind of build bridges? And then you find that you become like kind of a more of a people person, negotiator who's trying to bring two things together, and a peacemaker is the word I'm looking for. So that is one aspect. On a slightly less humorous note, I think it's also very important to empower people and to bring them together in cross-functional teams, rather than digital and technology being one little part of the organization that's going ahead, while the rest of the people are stuck in, because everybody at the end of the day is digital, while the bank's digital team can't exist in isolation. So it's also very important to bring teams together cross-functionally, starting from your HR, your administration teams, your branch people who are picking up the phone and solving customer issues, down to obviously your compliance, your risk people, and legal folks who may not like technology but still will need to sign off on things. How do you bring them together? How do you operate cross-functionally? How do you have a common vision for everybody that everyone goes towards rather than against? I think that is really key to delivering customer value. Otherwise, we can spend a lot of time spinning around in circles. At least this has been my experience.
Great. Smitha, your thoughts?
Yeah, kind of second what Sriram just mentioned, especially bank, which is extremely highly regulated, and the regulator is always looking at functioning of small finance banks, especially. It gets a little challenging when we want to be all out there and empower the customer. Forget our employees, at least we want to empower our customers. So it gets a little challenging. So there, yeah, banks do have a fine balance between that. So there is empowering employees, and there is empowering customers as well that we do. So wherever, in whichever scenario we feel that the customer himself can do it, we've kind of done that portion of it, and we are working on empowering employees. So which means to say that across the counter, in case there is something that can be done, generally small finance banks, which have started operating since 2016 onwards, operations of these banks are mostly centralized and not decentralized. So one kind of an empowering is a decentralized operations, which you find in most of the huge banks, because they are profit centers in itself. Each branch is a profit center in itself. So we're slowly migrating there, and empowering employees is the thing that we are looking at. And as rightly put it by Sriram, we have all the challenges. Everybody is like, you have a force which is going in the opposite direction, and there are 100 things which are pulling us back as well. So that's how it is in the banking industry. But I think it's all for the good. The more we face challenges, the more we find solutions. That's how I see it. So, yeah.
Thanks, Smitha. Decentralization, great insight on empowering people. So, Ganapathi, you want to go next in terms of what you're doing to empower people? I think we've lost you. You're not very clear. So, Kanchan, why don't you take that question, and then we'll go to Ganapathi.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anand.
Whether I'm muted or not. Can you
Ma'am, you can go ahead. I think Sir has a very bad connection at the moment.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Again, I would resonate much with Mr. Sriram that, when you have a group of people who really want to deliver that great customer experience, you also have a group of people, who rather, I would say, do not want to deliver. I would probably say are not aligned to what, we have planned. So I think for leaders like us, what is very important is that, anything that we plan towards customer experience, to ensure that, we align all the stakeholders and, especially the frontline team with everything that's happening in the organization, right? And that's what I would call an empowerment, and I think it's all about having a customer-centric culture that, the culture in an organization is what I think I would talk about. And it all starts from assessing, our organization in our CX maturity levels, right? Where are we right now? First we do an assessment of where, like, I think I have spent almost 4 years in Manipal now. So anywhere where I start with my customer experience activity, it's more of assessing the people there and the maturity levels there. And then, you have a plan and you set your goals on how do you want to reach that maturity level that you want to target, right? And definitely to achieve that, customer-centric culture in any organization, it has to be more of a top-down approach. And this year, in fact, in Manipal, we are focusing more on fostering this kind of a customer-centric culture in our organization at all levels. Especially, our focus is more on the frontline team. And one thing that we really work on is in all our service excellence sessions, and also, especially the vertical heads, department heads in every business unit, we stress on how much of time are we spending with our frontline team members, because finally they are the ones who are delivering the experience, right, and creating that brand image. And how much do we talk about our processes? Do we discuss process? How often do we meet? Do we tell them what's happening in the organization? Do we tell them? So when I essentially visit every unit, the first thing I do is, I ask a frontline team member, do you know what is the NPS score, right? Your net promoter score of your department. And if that frontline member is not aligned to that, then, as a department head or a vertical head, I'm not doing my, then I cannot blame my frontline team members, right? So it's all about aligning, all the stakeholders. And it's not just about customer experience or service excellence. It's more about operationalizing service excellence, creating champs in all these, operational departments who will be catalysts to bring about this kind of a change. So what we are focusing this year is to create those catalysts in, because it's not going to be possible for a Kanchal or one customer experience head to, create that change. And I think, Shishir had touched upon that, that one department is not going to create that change that we want to bring about. It's going to be the entire organization that, and again, the top-down approach, right? How much we are going to drive. So I think for me, empowering, the frontline team in terms of information about the organization, in terms of the entire plan we make on annual operating plans, right? And have we discussed that with our frontline team member? Do they know what I have planned, right? If I have not discussed that, then there's no point in having these discussions. They're just in our, within our senior leaders or team members, because finally, it's not going to take shape there. So that's very important. And I think to end my, I would probably say, as much as we have measures and metrics in place to measure customer experience, it's important for every organization to measure your employee experience as well, right? So both go hand in hand. I think that's something that we need to really focus on. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kanchan. So with that, we'll actually move very quickly to each one of you in the room. So you said focus on customer experience. So similarly for the rest, one idea on from each one of you on how customer service can be a differentiator. What would your advice be to the audience? And just one point on what you think should be a good area to focus on for better customer experience. So Shishir, we'll start with you.
Sure, I would say focus on having a single source of truth. Make sure that even if it is the service part of your business, you are leveraging those insights by having a single source of truth through which you can do a lot more than just service. So that would be my one big idea.
Single source of truth. Thanks for that. Ganapathi? You need to unmute yourself, please.
Sorry. So what I would like to see is, right, from the services industry perspective, I want customer to see us as a trusted advisor, right? If we can accomplish that objective, I think rest will fall in place. So the trust building is very important. Trust doesn't come just because I want to be loyal to you. Trust comes with integrity, quality, workmanship, skill, capability, right? These are integrative factors which has to be there. So I would look forward for building that trust with the customer where they see us as the trusted advisor. That is the step which I would seriously emphasize.
Great, Ganapathi. Build trust. Smitha?
Yeah, from my side, data is wealth. So we have, I'm sure all organizations have the wealth. How we weave the story matters. So that would be my key takeaway. And building matrices around it, building journeys which are customer impacting in a very seamless manner would be the key.
Data as well. So thanks for that, Smitha. Sriram?
I think my fellow panelists have already touched upon most of the key things. From my side, what I would like to add is to be 90% digital and 10% human touch. But the 10% of human touch should be when the customer really wants a human to talk to or to visit or to hold their hands, that human should be available. So getting the right mix of digital with physical is what I would look at.
Great. Human touch through the right mix of physical and digital. Yeah, so we'll end with you, Rubal. What do you think has been your experience in looking at building great brands through customer service? And what are those differentiators for great service?
Thank you, Anand. And I guess Shishir, Smitha, Sriram, Mr. Ganapathi, and Kanchal have already covered those points. And with ServiceNow platform, customers are able to build a composable architecture. To Shishir's point, whenever you need not to build a Ferrari now, but if tomorrow, it's a rainy day and things are changing, business models are evolving, you are able to pivot into a different business model quickly, right, in a very agile fashion. So that is what platform brings onto the table, because it touches all the 4 important macro pillars in any organization, irrespective of the industry we are in: our customers, employees, our IP, IT, and the last piece is, the governance, risk, and compliance. So all the 4 pillars are served from ServiceNow platform, single platform, which is not stitched by different solutions, but all solutions are built on the platform with a common services delivery model. And that is what Shishir mentioned also about, it should be single source of truth. But, we have built on top of it that all the services should be stitched on top of the single source of truth, so that the information given can be given easily to the frontline workers. The information quickly can be given to my people who are on the field for loan recovery. The information can be quickly given to the people who are in the contact center, right? And we are empowering them. So that is the game changer, according to us. And I also thought, we'll share some of the references here, like, Lloyd's Bank for that, case in point. For BFSI, customers have gone through that change, over a period of 2 to 3 years, where they have, really changed from a legacy bank to a bank which is completely digital and providing that single window operations and entering into the newer markets with their digital channels. Similarly, for ITS company, Mindtree is a referenceable customer. In last 2 years, a lot of things have been changed there. They have adopted our platform for providing that kind of service internally to the employees, and then the internal employees and the senior leaders are kind of convincing their customers that how they have done the transformation, they are able to convince their customers to do the similar transformation. Similarly, National Health of Scotland has used our platform to vaccinate over 10 million country citizens in NHS and in a record time. So, these are some of the examples I thought I'll also share. Kind of proof is in the pudding, right? So with all these points which we discussed about single source of truth, single platform, bringing everybody together to service the customer. And, last, I would like to say that, out of 365 days in a year, we will serve our customers 364 days well. But that one day, if we don't serve them well, we will lose the customer for life. So we earn trust in drops, but we lose trust in buckets. That is where there is a need of a platform with common services data model.
So on that note, thanks to all of you. I think an integrated platform like Rubal mentioned is extremely critical to bring all of this together. So thank you for being such a wonderful panel. I will now hand it over back to Mithun.
Thank you, Anand. Indeed, that was enlightening session. Some great insights, and thank you to all our panelists. Thank you so much again. Well, it was indeed where we learned so much, and we look forward to much more with all the information in what's gonna come our way. My name is Mithun Upadhyay. I wish you all a great evening ahead. Till then, serve and be served.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good
Thank you.
evening.
Thank you.
Bye. Ciao. Tada.